Welcome to another episode of Mission Compliance, Unleashing Growth Potential for Defense Contractors. In today's episode, we're discussing CMMC, the new timeline, and specifically the fact that the new law is here. What is it, and what does it mean for your business? Stay tuned and find out. Roll that beautiful bean footage. We're joined once again today by Mike Frieder, President of On-Call Compliance Solutions and a CMMC Professional Assessor. Thanks for joining us, Mike.
Hey, it's great to be here, Roman. Thanks for having me.
So, Mike, you are a CMMC professional assessor, which is a good thing because that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about the fact that the new CMMC law is here. On call sent out some email information earlier this week based on the release that was released by the DoD. We have this new information about CMMC. It's here, so you are the perfect person to tell us about it. So let's get right into it. You told us before we started recording this that you had a lot that you wanted to say, a lot that you wanted to get off your chest, so let's do it. So, with that being said, let's jump right in. So, as we said, the new law just dropped and CMMC is real. Can you tell us what this really means for defense contractors today?
Yeah, absolutely, Roman, and super excited to talk with you today. I got to admit to our audience, you guys are amazing, and I love you, and you're so loyal. I've been getting a lot of requests lately. Hey, where are the new videos? Where's the compliance tip of the week videos we're used to seeing like absolutely consistently on demand? We have been slacking for just a handful of weeks. There's a really good reason for that, and I cannot wait to tell our audience all about it. We are actually being audited by DIBCAC, and that process has started so that we can be certified as a CMMC, or excuse me, a C3PAO, right? So finally, we're going to Star Wars, a certified third-party assessing organization. We're very much excited about that. It's taken us a year to get an appointment with DIBCAC, and we are in the midst of that process. While we're in that process, we're taking a little bit of time out just to really focus in on our work with DIBCAC and the DoD. Yes, we will bring you full information on that process and what it looks like and things like that. But in the meanwhile, we're kind of keeping everything under wraps and we're doing some concentrated work there. I think the other thing is, we are in the midst of unprecedented times. For years and years and years, we talked about the idea that since the 2019 Inspector General audit of the DoD, that found that something like 1% of defense companies were getting with DFARS and NIST voluntarily. Uh, Obviously, since then, a lot has changed. CMMC has come about. They've been threatening for years to come and audit defense companies on their cybersecurity and information security standards. The question is, has that day come? Obviously, last week, the United States government dropped essentially a preview to the law, which is that CMMC is going to be real. There's a lot to unpack. It's 470 pages worth of public comments, feedback, and then, of course, the actual proposed law that will be going into place, which is no longer a proposed law. It's a final law. It's a final rule. So, what does all of that mean? Well, here's what it means. Nothing new, which is interesting. It actually doesn't mean anything new. What it means is that they are putting a new law into the Federal Register, which will mandate that there is a CMMC. And then they're going to propose in the next few months in the Defense Federal Acquisition Regulation Supplement the actual law that will implement CMMC as a requirement that can be in contracts. So technically, right now, even though everybody in the world is making this big, huge deal about the fact that a law has passed making CMMC real, and I don't disagree, I think that that law indicates the intention for it to be very real. Where we are right now is, I would call that shots fired. I would call that a warning shot for the defense industrial base. It's not a joke anymore. It's not a one day. It's not a someday. It's a today. You need to be getting prepared. You need to be getting compliant. You should have been compliant 6 years ago, back in 2017 when the law rolled out. You've had more than ample time. And ultimately, this is going to be something that really affects you. It is. Now, with that being said, there are a lot of people out there who are putting out some really scary messages for defense contractors. They're saying you won't be able to win your business in the future unless you're CMMC certified. You won't be able to continue doing business without a third-party assessment. Well, here's the deal. Any defense company needs to be prepared for certification. They need to be prepared as soon as they possibly can get prepared. However, uh, we are still facing a large swath of defense business that will be self-attestation for a few more years. So, does it really change things? There will be some process changes. There will be some changes when it comes to the way that you have to self-attest. You may have to involve executives in the attestation. The attestation is going to move to once a year instead of once every 3 years in SPRS. There's definitely going to be some noticeable changes. I would call this evidence of them turning the screws. And that's really what this is they are turning the screws on defense contractors. And eventually, I think several years from now, yes, you will definitely have a third-party audit for most of you who handle any kind of controlled unclassified information. But is that day going to be today? No, I don't think so. I think the reality is that in Q1 of next year, you will begin seeing CMMC requirements as a part of contracts. So if you're looking at this, my big message is if you haven't done anything, if you're net new to defense, if you just don't really, or if you couldn't convince your boss to spend the money getting compliant, show them the law, say this is real. And I mean, there's the evidence. There's no further evidence needed. You will definitely need to be compliant no later than mid Q1, I think. By mid Q1, what will begin to happen is they will roll it out in the Defense Federal Acquisition Regulation Supplement. So they'll take this law that says CMMC can exist and this is what it looks like, and they'll say, this is the law, and you're going to have a requirement in your contract past this date that implements what the law is. Okay, so I think that's really good clarity because boy, let me tell you, there's already misinformation flying all over the internet about this stuff, telling defense contractors that they need to be ready right now. If they don't get ready right now, like they're going to lose their work. Like, we're almost there. You got a couple months. However, you're going to need that couple of months to shore up where you are on temporary deficiencies. So, I think that's really the big MO is it's real. It's not going away. It's not even political, so you don't have to worry about that. That's the big thing. And I think that understanding that it's real is probably the most important part. And I think any of the other scare tactics that I've seen out on the internet, I don't know if I'd take them too seriously because the reality is they were already there all along. You have supposed to have been compliant since 2017. If you're new to defense contracting, well, then here's the reality. These are requirements to be a defense contractor, and you have to meet them by law. And if you're not meeting them by law, well, you can't do defense contracting. It's pretty black and white. It's not complicated. So yeah, that really, guys, 470 pages worth of stuff. There's definitely some interesting public comments that were made. There's some interesting commentary back from the government on those comments, and they provide a lot of rationale for why things are the way they are in the new law. But again, the real big thing that I think you ought to know is that's the warning shot. I think you've got 2 to 3 months to go. And I think that if you are not in a position where you're pretty close to completing your temporary deficiencies and your plan of action with milestones and really feeling good about CMMC level 2, boy, it's time to call in some expert help, right? And I think that's where on-call really excels is I think unlike most other vendors who are trying to wrap you into a giant monthly, recurring fee, who are trying to just figure out some way to just suck the blood out of you for the next 3 years to come, 10 years to come, whatever it may be. Our focus is dialed in. Our focus is on getting you compliant. We're a compliance consultancy. And yes, we're backed by a global managed IT services company that specializes exclusively in defense. But it's not our main gig. Our main gig is compliance. Our main gig is to work with you, whether it's on a one-time basis, an ongoing basis, whether it's providing compliant solutions to you, whether it's managing your compliance for you, at whatever level your company needs, we have a solution that is honestly at this point time tested, right? I mean, we understand what we're doing. We've done it hundreds and hundreds of times. We've worked with almost 1,000 defense contractors already. And again, if you're struggling to deal with this kind of stuff, that's when it's time, that's when it's time to call us. It's not later. It's not when you've got contracts that are pending renewal. It's not when you are 2 weeks out from bidding on a contract, although we love those calls because we can help them quickly. Um, you got to understand it does take a little bit of time, but the meat of that work, I think, can happen pretty quickly.
470 pages, that's like half of Harry Potter. That's a lot. But at the time of recording this, as you mentioned, CMMC is real. It's here. We've been hearing a ton of noise in the market about how much more complicated CMMC is going to be, the astronomical prices out there for assessment, and how this entire thing is going to be a nightmare, especially for the smaller especially for the smaller defense companies. As a CMMC assessor, what's your take on what's your take on this?
Yeah. So, and I'm sorry, the question was regarding smaller contractors, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think one thing that's very frustrating to me is you know, I think at On Call we sort of consider ourselves the small defense champion. Now, look, we work with some really, really big companies, okay? We work with several, I mean, like many, many multi-billion dollar international companies, and we know how to achieve compliance efficiently at scale for those companies. We advise them regularly. But we really have our heart in the small to mid-sized market. We're talking about the 1,000 employee and less companies, even down to one employee who again, if you know us well, you'll know that, we've got stories about, whether grandma the defense contractor is going to be able to pay herself or get compliant and follow the law. I hate that choice. That's a terrible choice. Nobody should ever have to make a choice like that just to be able to support themselves through defense. It's an amazing industry. So what do I think? Well, I have a couple of thoughts about this. Number one is self-attestation does not go away. It's important to understand that for those contracts that will require a a third party assessment, the cost of that assessment must be factored into the amount of money involved in that contract for it to be worth everybody's time. In other words, I don't think the DoD, this is just my conjecture, I don't think the DoD is putting out a $15,000-$20,000 contract that requires a third party assessment on CMMC that could cost you 100 grand. I don't think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see those people have self-attestation requirements. That to me is really not much different than DFARS and NIST SP 800-171. I think the only difference is that you're going to wind up in a position where you may have to attest more regularly, and that's geared at just getting you to be more diligent on following the controls. So again, that's a common sense approach to this is if you're a really, really small defense contractor and you're not churning millions of dollars in defense work, I just don't really see that you're very likely to get those requirements put on you. Now, maybe you're handling some super duper top secret stuff, in which case, if you're handling top secret or secret stuff, usually the DoD is going to really heavily supervise that. And honestly, they're going to provide you with the resources to do that work. That's much more normal. But again, I think that, where this really boils down to is it's definitely going to affect some of the larger defense contractors way more. And the small to medium-sized guys, you know what? My favorite thing about what we do here is we have really cost-effective approaches to helping you figure this out and getting compliant. And that allows for you to follow the law, not violate it. We can help you with the self-attestation when you're at that phase. And as far as keeping this thing affordable. That's what On-Call has been doing. That's why, again, if you follow our story, we're volume based. All right. I mean, literally, we're working with 4 to 6 new companies a week, and growing, right? Growing all the time. And you know what? We have a very, very well-defined system for doing this. We've got amazing experts on staff who are passionate about the mission that we have here to help defense contractors understand and get compliant. And I think at the end of the day, the small defense contractor, the only major difference is they can't continue to put it off forever. CMMC does have the 180-day plan of action remediation rule. So now you can't just put it off forever. You've actually really got to solve the problem. So I think that's probably the biggest difference. And again, if you need help solving for that, that's what we do here. I mean, it's not just what we do, it's who we are, it's what we do extremely well. That's what we do. We've come up with very cost-effective solutions for micro and small, all the way on up to massive multinational enterprise businesses. So, I think the future is bright for small defense contractors. I think There's a lot of scare tactics out there. There's a lot of noise in the market about how expensive this is going to be. Listen, if you're hearing that kind of stuff, call us, and I think you'll hear a much different conversation about how affordable it is, how we can help you to achieve ROI through compliance as a competitive advantage, and show you how to actually grow. Gosh, you guys, if you're a small to mid-sized business, you know what? On-call is your champion. And that's why we kind of say that at On-call, we make you into the compliance hero. And that's what we're really all about, is making you into that hero that you need to be.
All right, so we did have a third question, but Mike pretty much just answered it. It was where do you see on-call's role when it comes to CMMC, and what does the future hold? Is there anything else you'd like to add here, or have you pretty much said it all?
Yeah, I think there are just a couple small points. One is we've been asked, hey, Mike, we see that you're going for a C3 PAO. There's only 56 of those in the world. If you're 57, how are you going to be different? Here's the major difference. We're going to be a certified third-party assessing organization. That's what we're going for right now. We're working with DibCAC. We've been there since the beginning of this ecosystem. We're excited about that role. But what we're going to probably do mostly is we're going to continue to work with businesses to help them be ready for assessment. Will we do some assessments? Sure. But we think that it's important for companies who are going up for certification to have someone on their side who really understands the certification process. And what better company to work with getting prepared than a certified third-party assessing organization who runs that process on a daily basis. So I think that our role will still continue mostly to be supporting those companies who are going for certification, but really championing those companies through the process. Um, Second thing is, I think a mentoring role for our clients is very important. You got to remember this stuff is really for a lot of companies, risk management maturity is just totally new to them. And so we continue to really love our role as a mentor and helping our clients grow and also mature as companies. Just very, very exciting. It really scratches that entrepreneurial itch we have here at On Call. And I think that is something we're very, very proud of the work that we've done. As a matter of fact, we just had a client that won an $84 million contract, and we were the linchpin to help them get compliant so that they could be awarded that contract. It's huge. I can't tell you how many jobs that created. I think they have to buy two new facilities. Like it's awesome. So I think in terms of just figuring out that kind of stuff, that's really what we're good at. And also, I view our role as a very important role. We're going to help get the price down. Um, these assessments involve a lot of people. They're very complicated. I'll have more to deliver on that at a later date, but our goal is going to be able to figure out how to, in mass, in volume, drive the price down so that it's a fair price to get assessed. Um, I just unfortunately think there's not enough people that have that same passion out there. But if we're the one company that cares about getting the price to be reasonable for the amount of work that's got to be done, so be it. I'm happy to lead that role and be that company, and we'll assess as many companies as we possibly can. But the one thing that really upsets me is when I see a three-person company get charged 26, 30, $40,000 for an assessment of like five computers. I just think it's absurd. There's got to be some more efficient way. And we're engineering that right now. That's something that I think also is going to be super important. So we will continue to lead. We will continue to lead in the DFARS, NIST, and CMMC space as we have for the last 7 years. We will continue to innovate. We will continue to drive the price down. We will continue to support the defense industrial base. And I think that is our role. As we've always said, we protect those who help protect America. And I think we do that from the worst threat known to business today, which is cyber attack. And, we help to pay for ourselves by helping them grow with more contract awards at larger profit margins. So, it's a lot to unpack there, Roman, but we got a lot going on. We're a busy little company, and, we've got a lot of amazing, amazing defense contractors to support. And the cool thing is we keep growing to support that need. And so long as the defense industrial base needs us, we will be there to support.
All right, if you've been with us for 74 episodes now, you know how this goes. We like to end it by asking a silly question that is somewhat related, and Mike is usually pretty good at making it relevant. And I know Mike's up against the clock a little bit because he's so busy helping our clients, but let's get you to the question. Imagine CMMC is like a role-playing video game where you have to beat the big bosses to get to each level. So if CMMC was the final big boss, uh what would you have to do to beat it, and what is that boss like?
Yeah, love this question, Roman. Great job on this one. So, yeah, what's the big boss? Well, you know what? On our side of things, as an assessor, the big boss is DibCAC, right? DibCAC is kind of like Bowser. You run, you put together the best plan you can, and maybe you catch a leaf out of the question mark box, and you're flying, and then you get met with DibCAC. We were on a call with DibCAC the other day, and we'll just say that the number of people on the assessment team outnumbered the number of people that we had on our team by like 3 to 1. It was it was very much like facing a big boss in a video game. But you know what? The cool thing is again, I think that everybody is well intentioned in the situation, and we've got the right formula to beat that boss and go out and achieve what we're looking for in terms of certified third party assessing organizations to help the DIB. That's really what our mission is. So one, you've got big bosses over at the DoD who again, that's their job is to assess you, right? To make sure you're following your contract obligations. Then you've got, this standard, right? I mean, on another level, it's just the standard itself is monstrous, right? So without some guidance, maybe a little Mario plumbing pipe, to help get you there, it's a really tough journey. It's a really tough journey to the end of the stage. So the good news is there exist some shortcuts. On-call is definitely probably the best shortcut. Certainly the most time efficient shortcut for sure, because we've already beaten the levels. We've already beaten all the bosses that it takes to get compliant. And so we can really help people to crush it. We're like the cheat code. It's totally what we are. We're a cheat code. Then you get your certified third-party assessors out there, right? Your private sector companies who are going to be out there assessing and making sure that you are qualified to pass on to the next stage. That assessment is an intense process. I can't wait to share more about what we've been through, what we're going to go through later on in November. I'm really quite excited to share that with the internet. Ultimately, I think it's just one of those situations where you've got to do your work, you've got to practice, you've got to have all these things in place in order for you to beat that stage of the game. And there's definitely some big bosses. But here's the bright side. At the end of the rainbow, there's definitely some really cool stuff on the other side. And I know for us, we're excited to be a certified third-party assessor to help out our DIP clients. We're excited also to help our clients go beat the big boss, get that CMMC certification that we've been working towards for years, and just help them crush the game with a lot more contract awards at even higher profit margins, so they can continue supporting America. So, yeah, lots to unpack there. But hey, at the end of the day, there's definitely some challenges to overcome, a couple big bosses to beat up on, but we're here to help you with that cheat code.
Yeah. And that wraps up another great episode of Mission Compliance. We hope our discussion today has provided you with valuable insights, practical strategies, and inspiration to navigate the ever evolving world of defense. We'd like to thank Mike for joining us to talk about the important topic of CMMC and the fact that it is here. Get compliant now, and On Call is here to help with that. Thanks, Mike.
Hey, always a pleasure, Roman.
And for our listeners, I have to apologize. I am a bit under the weather, so if you're listening to this on Spotify or any of the other audio platforms, I apologize for the way I sound right now. But the conversation doesn't end here. We encourage you to continue exploring these topics and connect with us on our social media channels. Share your thoughts, ask questions, and engage with fellow listeners using the hashtag Mission Compliance Podcast. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platforms so you always know when new episodes like this one are released. And we truly appreciate it if you could take a moment to rate and review the show. Your feedback helps us to continue to bring you thought-provoking episodes and high-quality content. Join us next time as we delve further into the dynamic world of defense, security, and industry innovation. Until then, take care, stay informed, and make compliance your mission. See you next time.
Thanks, everybody.